Welcome back. I wanted to start by asking you point blank, do you think Musharraf had any role in the assassination, the actual assassination of Benazir Bhutto?
Well, let me answer that by saying the following thing. Benazir Bhutto had a conversation with Musharraf that there are witnesses to that conversation where Benazir Bhutto asked for protection before going back and asked him whether the U.S. Government had called him to request that protection because Benazir had lobbied the U.S. Congress and the White House. And Musharraf responded, look, the Americans can call all they want, but your security, said to Benazir Bhutto, depends on the state of our mutual relationship. So he was telling very point blank to Benazir that her security depended on how he felt their relationship was going. And she sent a letter to, actually an email to Wolf Blitzer, an email to be known only if she were to be killed. And in that email, she blames Musharraf because she says that he made her feel insecure due to the minions, the associates around them. I think that any responsibility that is a penal responsibility has to be established by the courts. It is the courts that establish who's guilty or who's exonerated. But I think clearly here there's a political and moral responsibility on the part of Musharraf because he just did not provide the protection that she requested so many times. Not only Musharraf, I like to even say that the United States and the UK promoted her return to Pakistan because it was part of a deal that would have enough stability for Pakistan and at the same time confront terrorism, particularly the Taliban that were helping the fight against American troops in Afghanistan. But they did not do anything to provide the security that she needed to go back. I mean, they stimulated her, even they pressured her to do a deal with Musharraf, but they did not provide security. So in the end here, it's difficult to point the finger against one single actor. I was trying to respond to the question, so who's guilty here behind the assassination? And I came up with this metaphor using a Spanish play of the 17th century called Fuente Ovejuna, the name of a village in Spain. And the story is that there was a ruler of this village that was very hated by the population, and one day he's assassinated. And a judge arrives from another town to investigate the assassination and begins interrogating the villagers, and they all respond that Fuente Ovejuna did it. In other words, the village did it. And the judge goes one after the other, and the villagers continue to say Fuente Ovejuna did it. Even becomes irate, and tortures some of them, and they stick to the story. Fuente Ovejuna did it. They don't point to anybody in particular. I think the metaphor can be applied to Benazir Bhutto. There were many people that wanted her dead. Al-Qaeda, for sure, had ordered the assassination, and the Pakistani Taliban evidently did. Nobody believes that the kid, because it was a kid, the one that fired and blew himself. He was 15 and a half years old. Nobody believes that he was the one that did it alone. There was nobody behind. So the Pakistani Taliban, Musharraf, I think, had a political and moral responsibility because he facilitated the crime by not protecting her. I think the people around her, her own security team, failed her because of inexcusable omissions, and I could get into that. And in addition to that, the US and the UK did not provide any security. They did not pressure Musharraf sufficiently, or were not able to get the results from Musharraf. And in the end, the police did a cover-up. And in the end, a lot of the political actors in Pakistan, my feeling was, would rather turn the page than find out who really did it. And that's why I feel that this will be surrounded in an oral mystery for a long time.
What do you think about what's happening with Musharraf now and the fact that he has been charged?
Well, it's very interesting because as a consequence of our report, an anti-terrorist court in Rawalpindi opened the case and first of all began to interrogate the local police. They indicted the local police, they arrested them, and then they indicted Musharraf. They seized his assets when he was abroad, and when he returned to Pakistan, he was put into house arrest. The case is ongoing right now, so that at least there has been concrete action on the part of the Pakistani courts. Adding to the mystery, the state prosecutor in the Bhutto case was assassinated 6 months ago. As he drove to the court to a hearing on the Bhutto case, on the Benazir Bhutto case, he was assassinated, driven with bullets. Was it directly linked to the Bhutto case? Many believe so. Many think that it would have been Taliban terrorists because of that and other cases, but at least the court cases are still ongoing.
One of the major figures in your book is a guy by the name of Rehman Malik, who was, I believe, the security chief for Benazir Bhutto. He was also sort of your entree into Pakistan when you first went there. Can you talk a bit about him, your interactions with him, and how they changed?
Well, Rehman Malik was the Minister of the Interior at the time of our investigation. In other words, he served with the Zardari government and had been, in fact, a security advisor to Benazir Bhutto, a close associate. Many said that he was the person in charge of her security. He said to us, no, I wasn't. I was a national security advisor, but most people that we interviewed said that no, he was in charge of the actual security.
Yeah, that was my understanding when I was there.
Exactly. So we all understood that, and that was the case in our judgment. He was our contact person. He was a surprising figure, very warm to us when we arrived. But very surprising because the first meeting that we had in Pakistan when we went, he presented us with a document, 70-page document that was supposed to be our report. He said, "This is what we gather, all the investigation that we've done. This is your report."
That was nice of him. He did your work for you.
Yes, he said, "If you can change it if you want." So basically, he was saying, you know, go and do some tourism. Don't worry. Here's your report. We've done it for you. And
here's some lunch.
I was astonished, and I looked at my commissioners because I don't think he understood that this was going to be a serious and an independent investigation, no matter what. And I think that he began feeling uncomfortable as we began asking questions about his role, because he had been in a backup vehicle, in a backup black Mercedes, bulletproof black Mercedes, at the time of the assassination. And this backup car, as any backup vehicle, was there to be as an alternate vehicle in case the vehicle of Benazir Bhutto suffered a damage or was attacked. And when the assassination occurs, the political rally ends and they are ready to leave. First of all, the security is not around. The police, to avoid the crowd from going around the vehicles. But this black backup car is nowhere to be found. And we reviewed dozens of videos and photographs. We never found that vehicle. And we asked him, because we knew that he was riding that vehicle, where was the vehicle? And he was always telling us, we'll talk about this some other time. And he never responded right out the questions that we were making about where was this vehicle. The vehicle was at least 250 yards away, close enough so that they heard the explosion. Despite the fact that they heard the explosion, the car simply left and they went to Zardari house, which was Benazir Bhutto's house in Islamabad. Instead of staying there because they were the backup vehicle, they didn't even stop on the way to find out whether she had been hurt or not. This was inexcusable. And we found that out through the investigation, through testimonies. In fact, the vehicle of